We are back. We are back. What we watch when we drink. Who knows what number episode this is?
Doesn't matter.
747.
Doesn't
We
matter.
don't even know. We're in season 73 of this crazy thing.
It's like
experiment.
picking a root number. You know, episode
It really is.
24. 24 sounds good. Let's go 24.
Nobody's counting. Nobody's
Can
counting.
we just do prime numbers?
Prime numbers are way cooler.
They are.
Numbers that end in 7 are just the best.
Episode number pi.
Oh, to the 27th digit. See, ends in 7. All right. We are the unofficial podcast of record for Lifetime and Hallmark holiday rom-coms because we love the holidays and we love love. So tie a big fat ribbon around a brand new Cadillac or an adorable puppy.
Hey, I got a
and
question
we
for
both
you.
on a snowy driveway. Yes.
What are you smoking?
It's the West Coast, man.
I'm not smoking a thing. Man, it's holiday
It's the
time,
West
man.
Coast.
And there's nothing better than
You know what I think happened, Mike? I think he walked the dog and he got a contact high from all his neighbors.
You
That's
know,
what I
it's the
think.
cold air. It's like 40
It could
here.
be.
Oh my God, not 40.
His blood is so
I'm
thin.
sorry. It's 64 in my garage, okay?
Speaking of cold, we have a special guest
We do. We have a special guest
From the Windy City.
from the Windy City. That's right. Chinatown.
where it's really cold. It's really cold. So what we watch when we drink, we're going to take a little pause here for our intro, and then we're going to come back with a very special guest tonight.
Okay, I'm going to run it. Roll the intro.
Roll the intro.
Welcome to What We Watch When We Drink, a Booze Dancing Entertainment Network podcast featuring lively discussions about movies, TV shows, and anything else that we're watching while we drink our favorite boozy beverages. If you enjoy this show, please subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Audible, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can also find us on boozedancing.com, and if you have any questions, comments, show or drink suggestions, email us at boozedancing@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
We have a guest tonight who I met in Los Angeles, I'd say a couple months ago at a whiskey festival, and we got to chatting and we tried to figure out how we can get this gentleman on because we know a bit about the distillery already, and we are lucky to have with us the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Catoctin Creek Distillery in Virginia, Dean Kaplan.
Hey guys.
Dean!
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh.
Now, Dean represents a distillery in Virginia, but Dean is not in Virginia.
I'm not. No, I'm in Chicago, and it's about 40 here, so I think we may have the same, cold. Although for me in December, 40 is balmy.
shorts.
So, I'm not going to take any complaints.
Now, when I say 40 in California, I really mean 64, but it feels like 40 to me. So it's not the same kind of 40. Dean, welcome. Thank you for coming in. Do you remember us meeting at that whiskey festival?
I certainly do. Yeah, that was downtown LA. It was a nice little venue and a great show.
Yeah, that was when I saw you with the Guar bottles,
Yes.
and holy moly, I'd never seen them up close and personal. I'd only seen them on YouTube videos and I think Fred Minnick's show. I think when he interviewed Scott. Why don't you tell us a bit about the distillery, and then we're going to move right into a whiskey, you're going to lead us through a little bit of a tasting.
Yeah, so Catoctin Creek, we're a family-owned and woman-led distillery out of Northern Virginia. A small town called Purcellville. It's about 45 minutes-ish west of D.C. Beautiful little town. It's a great drive from the airport through the foothills of the mountains. Really beautiful. Coming from the Midwest, it's great to see sort of any sort of mountains and any sort of elevation. But what we focus on is 100% rye. So we've got 5 products today, 4 whiskeys and a gin, and they all are 100% unmalted rye, which is super cool. All the grain that we use is from within 100 miles of our distillery. So we're using local grains, giving us a sense of place, right? And while we don't talk about it very often in spirits, we like to talk about terroir and really discuss, why Mid-Atlantic rye matters. And so we distill those, you can see behind me here, actually this side here, this is our beautiful new 600-gallon copper pot still. Right over here is our 300-gallon still. Everything we'll be tasting today was done in the 300-gallon still. But other than grow the grain, we do everything else ourselves. We're a nice small team that's been doing this since 2009. We've been in the space behind me since 2013. We age everything in 30-gallon New American Oak and then bottle it by hand. So the end result is the Virginia Rye whiskey, really approachable across our entire portfolio and just a great way to showcase what rye really can be.
And Virginia's got this long, wonderful history with distillation, right?
Well, it is the birthplace of American whiskey. As much as our friends over in Tennessee and Kentucky don't like when I say that, those colonists that landed at Jamestown in the 1600s, they made whiskey. And that's why when Scott and Becky Harris, our owners, opened up the distillery, that's why they wanted to make Virginia rye whiskey, is to honor that heritage.
Talk a little bit about Scott and Becky. They are kind of a unique couple in the industry.
They certainly are, yeah. So 2 engineers. Scott had been a government IT contractor for over 20 years before he had a full-blown midlife crisis and decided that he wanted to own a distillery. And luckily, his wife, Becky, is a chemical engineer by trade. And so she said, absolutely, I can make whiskey. It's easier than the plastics and metal plating and everything she was doing prior. And he just had to figure out how to make money making whiskey, which he certainly has done. So Becky is the heartbeat of everything that we do. She's our president and chief distiller. She's also the president of the American Craft Spirits Association, actually the first woman to hold that office. And she's a tireless advocate for our entire community in craft spirits. So, it's great to work for those two. They're amazing, some of the hardest working people I've ever met. And, I'm happy to represent their vision out in the market.
We know of them. We've met Scott, great people. And let's jump into one of their whiskeys, huh?
Yeah.
So we're jumping into the Roundstone Rye 80 proof first, correct?
That's right.
We always like a little cheers, a little clink clink. We all ready for that?
I'm ready.
All right. So let's talk about this guy. So this is like, I assume the basis for everything, right? This guy?
Yeah. So this is our flagship product, right? It is our Roundstone Rye 80 proof. Becky calls it her front porch sipper. And it really is a great entry into what we do. So really soft on the nose. Not what a lot of people expect with the spiciness, right? It's a little sweeter, a little softer. And that's intentional. We pick all of these in the Roundstone line based on flavor profile at time of bottling. So we pull down about a dozen barrels at a time and taste through each individual proof. And each of the red Roundstone line are all single barrel offerings. So as we taste through, we decide what experience both comes through the best. And on this 80 proof, we're looking for a crowd pleaser, right? This is something that's supposed to be approachable, easy to drink, just really, really versatile here.
So what makes this less, let's say, sharp or spicy? Is it the variety of rye that they use?
So it's a combination of a lot of things, right? So it starts with that grain.
Okay.
The farmers that we use work with Becky to come up with different strains that really allow us to have a softer profile. We use a lot of Bracetto and Ryman, our 2 types of rye that we use quite a bit. We also do a slow fermentation. So in these fermentation tanks behind me, we do about a 6-day fermentation on it. And then we do a slow distillation in that copper pot still. So about a 6 to 8 hour distillation process. So just like when you're making stew, right? The longer you cook it, the softer and more flavorful it's going to be. The same thing comes through when you're making whiskey, right? And then when we get to the end, when we talk about the gin, that comes from the tails of the whiskey distillation. So we're really, really liberal about cutting off those tails really quickly because we're utilizing those in another product. So we're keeping just all those really sweet hearts in there. And so the result is a softer, more approachable rye than what you expect out of the Midwest or Canada, which is what most people are expecting rye to taste like.
Is this a single distillation or a double distillation?
Just a single distillation.
No, but then when they get the tails run through again when they make the gin?
Yeah, we do a triple distillation on those tails
Okay.
for the gin.
Okay.
Now, before you mentioned this is unmalted rye,
Correct.
does
yes.
that maybe also soften a little bit that they don't malt it first, or does that not really do anything?
Certainly a little bit of that. I mean, the malting of it, helps the most in improving your yield. So for us, we're using enzymes in that fermentation instead of the malting process. And it allows us to keep, that traditional rye flavor profile, that mid-Atlantic rye shining through.
Anything unique about the yeast?
You know, that's a Becky question, not a Dean question. So we'll have to take that to
He'll
her.
tell you, but then he has to kill you.
Yeah.
Well.
There are a few things I can't disclose, and that's one of them.
All right. Well, this is a lovely,
It is nice.
lovely beginning whiskey, right? Perfect for cocktails and sipping.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about it the most is when we're at shows like, where we met, Aaron, right?
Yeah.
Is when somebody comes to my table and they say, I don't really like rye whiskey. I said, no. You're the one I want to talk to because you don't like the rye whiskey you've had. And this one here is that perfect rye for the people that think they only like bourbon or Tennessee whiskey to come into the rye category. Because it's got that sweetness, right? You get a little butterscotch and vanilla on it. The spice is intentionally lower, so it's a really fun thing to bring to people when I can get them to try it because it truly is a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, for me, there's like a one note that's a little too sharp with most rye, and you don't get this here. Like you said, they've kind of done everything through the process to keep it softer, and I guess I'm a soft guy. I don't know, so it just works out that way.
Well, I mean, first time I had it was Chicago, like when I went to Jubilee there, and I liked it from the first sip. I was like, oh, that's really nice. So, which was incentive for me to, convince the wife to let me pop by the distillery on our way down to, Luray Caverns and all that good stuff in Virginia.
You were a little too early to see the new setups. You have to come back by. We even have, you can't see it on here, but a new bottling line we just put up about a month ago. Mm-hmm. So we're growing like crazy and ready to do it.
I thought it was going to be a much bigger site, a good use of space like most distilleries, because you just got to pretty much use every square inch that you can to do everything. Yeah. For some reason, I was expecting something huge, but it was kind of a small, intimate place. The bar area is great. They get the cocktails, because we did a little bit of the cocktails and we tried the little sampling there.
And what's really cool about it is actually 100-year-old Buick dealership.
Right. That's what I was telling Mike. It was an old car dealership.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
So our production space is where they did all the maintenance, and where our tasting room was the show area.
That's kind of what I figured.
And yeah, it's a beautiful space. It's, like you said, we've done our best to maximize every square inch there. And, I think we have space for 2 more fermentation tanks, and that's it. If I ask for any more, Scott might have an aneurysm. So I think we'll have to stop at just the 2.
Yeah, that'd be bad. Don't.
Well, then again, if he has the aneurysm, then you can take over without throwing the chipper.
Move right in.
Maybe you do ask for more. Ask for more things.
And since we're talking TV, when I saw that place, the first thing that popped into my head, did you ever see Banshee on Cinemax?
Yeah,
I did.
Well, the caddy was the dealer. It was the police station. Yeah. So when I saw the car dealership, I'm like, oh, this is like Banshee. Instead of it being a police station, it's a distillery.
It's repurposing an older building.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
It was cool. It was very cool.
Right. Since Ange brought that up, let's talk a little TV here on what we watch when we drink. What we watched is usually our first chapter in this little story. Dean, what have you been watching lately? Well, maybe before we get into it, what's your kind of your wheelhouse in terms of TV movies? Where do you like to be at?
Well, I'm a sucker for a thriller and for true crime. I'm very basic in that way, right? It's sort of taken over the space and everything. But anything in that vein, but also screwball stuff as well. I'm a guy who spends a lot of time just, really focused on stuff. So every once in a while, there's something just zany that I watch that just really, my wife goes, "What are you watching?" She comes in and "What are you doing?" So, when I'm traveling, it gives me that time to watch the stuff that I don't want my wife to sort of, although she sees on the Netflix, why are you watching that?
History, yes.
And it can't get away with anything. But actually just finished a rewatch of The Sopranos. I had, during the pandemic, I had said, I wanted to give it a go. And I started with Catoctin Creek just about 2 years ago, and I fell behind. So I've been sort of finishing that up. So that was a fun little rewatch I hadn't revisited since the original run. So, it was good to go back to that. And it really, really held up. I got sucked into it all over again.
I was going to ask, how did it hold up from watching it whenever it first came out in the 90s? Is it the same? Did it feel dated at all?
No, it really didn't. There's something about like mob and gangster movies that they always fit right in the time wherever they are, right? They don't ever feel like they're supposed to be now. So even though it was set contemporaneously back then, it doesn't feel too dated now. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the rewatch.
We just did a podcast. It just came out last week, and we watched The Freshman. It's not necessarily a mob movie per se, but there's a mob element to it and a caper element to it. And you're right. The mob movies do have a sense of timelessness. I don't know why that is, but you can watch an old black and white one or The Godfather or The Freshman or The Sopranos, and it doesn't seem to matter that the ties are too skinny, the ties are too fat. It doesn't, or the hair is too tall or too short. It doesn't seem to matter, does it?
No. Well, during the pandemic, they were doing they did a whole rebroadcast of The Sopranos, before the movie, The Many Saints of Newark. Is that what it's called? Or
Yeah.
So before the movie, for like 2 weeks prior, they were showing all the show. So I would pop in and watch an episode here and there. And I mean, and I know I've said it before, but I mean, Tony and Carmela are like the heart of the show. And everything else just kind of fans out from there. But those two together were just incredible. They were just so good. And I think that's going to hold up more than just about anything.
I've had Boardwalk Empire in my head to go back to.
That's a fun show too.
Yeah, that's a fun one too. Anything else, Dean?
So, one of my screwball things that I watched that sort of, because I travel a lot, so there's a show, it's on HBO Max now. I think it originally aired on like FX or something like that, but 101 Places to Party Before You Die. Really fun travel show, two comedians, John Gabris and Adam Pally, who are two in real life best friends that go to a different place for 48 hours and eat and drink their way through a city. It was great. John Gabris is a guy who I listened to a bunch of his podcasts, and super funny, but felt super authentic and not stuffy in the least, right? Just two guys who are, they've got, wives and kids and whatever at home, but they're just goofy guys. And it was a lot of fun. I definitely recommend giving it a watch. In fact, it's helped me while I'm traveling to pick out where I'm going to go or some bars for me to go call on and say, hey, you should have Catoctin Creek.
That's fun.
Right. It's a great way to sort of do that as well. But it was really fun.
That's cool.
Adam Pally's really funny. He was on the Mindy Show, and he was on a show. It's funny. It was about going back in time in American history. It was called Making History, I think. And he can go back and forth between time. He is really a funny guy. Is he a stand-up? I don't even know where he was from originally.
I think he's a sketch guy. I don't think he does stand-up. He's a sketch guy because I know John Gabris as well. So, but it's a lot of fun, and they just they really have a good time, and it's a great way to sort of escape whatever you're doing because you get to go travel with them for a weekend.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, and then
go ahead, Dean. Sorry.
The other thing is, I think like everybody else, I got sucked into Wednesday on Netflix. My wife and I, tried to be as responsible and not just binge through it all through in a couple of days. So
Screw that.
She didn't make it. I went on a work trip and I was like, all right, I'm not going to watch any when I get back home. She binged 3 or 4 extra episodes and had to rewatch them with me when I got home. I couldn't believe it. I wouldn't make it through that if I did the same thing. But but it was a lot of fun. I'm not a traditional Addams Family fan, but I think it was really well done and I really enjoyed watching it. It was a lot of fun.
I have not watched it yet, so I'll now that the three of you have watched it, I'll have to give it a try.
I've only watched 1.5 episodes because I started watching with my daughter before she she was here for Thanksgiving, and then she went back to college, and then we kind of promised we'd watch together when she comes home for the holidays. So she comes home tomorrow, so gonna start whipping through that one again. And my wife has kind of watched it already. She loved it, and I am an Addams Family nerd.
How's Luis Guzman as Gomez?
Great.
He's really good, and
they're not in it that much.
I would like him in that.
They're not in it that much.
Okay.
It focuses more on the kids
really about
than anything.
the kid.
But he was really good. I thought Catherine Zeta-Jones was good too. I mean, that's a tough thing to take over from Angelica Houston and Carolyn Jones. You're not really just stepping into a role people don't know. And I thought she was good too.
The woman who plays Wednesday is, I don't even know her name. But she's great.
Jenna Ortega.
Yeah, that's right. She is. So she's magnificent. Yeah, and the writing's really good. Right, it's really fun. Yeah. Mike, what have you been watching? What have you watched?
Unfortunately, I do not have any of self-control with my family. They binge everything, and everything is. I have to be the voice of reason, which is unfortunate. And at like midnight,
Mr. One More Drink.
It's midnight. It's 1:00. It's 1:30. Is anyone going to stop watching these shows? So they'll blow through just about everything. We watched the first half of this season of Manifest in 3 days or something. They watched all of Wednesday. I went over to Angelo's to go pick up my shares of the Catoctin Creek, and they watched the rest of it without me. And they were like, "Well, you left. I told you where I was going, and I was going. You left." Okay.
Well, in their defense, we were. It was 2 hours of.
I guess I'm out. Yeah, but they could have waited a couple minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So he comes over with like 2 bottles of scotch, a bunch of empties, and he's like, "Well, in case we get thirsty." And then the next thing
we didn't want to drink what we just got. We wanted to save it for today. And
you could have just come back to watch TV. No, you had to stay.
You look dehydrated.
I did. I'm always dehydrated.
So we watched Manifest. We watched Wednesday. We rewatched 2 movies. We went to go see Spirited, the Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell Christmas movie. Yeah. And then to kind of bookend our Christmas, we then went to go see the David Harbour movie, Violent Night, which was very, very good. A little different than Spirited, but very, very good.
So let's start with the fun one first. How did you like Spirited?
So we went to go see it, and Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds both sing. It's got musical. It's not necessarily a musical, but it has musical qualities to it. And my wife is not a huge fan of these types of shows. So the first song Will Ferrell sings, and I leaned over to my son, who was in between my wife and I said, "Does your brother want to go yet?" And he said, "No, I think it's okay." The next song Ryan Reynolds sings, and by now I'm certain she would like to leave. And I lean over and I said, "Does she want to go now?" And he said, she just leaned over to me and said, "This is the greatest movie she's ever seen." So,
wow.
It gets to show you, no matter how long you're married, always a surprise. Always surprise.
Always a surprise.
It was a very good movie. I thought they underutilized Octavia Spencer, who's a really good actress.
She was really good.
But with those two, they're going to steal every scene. So, maybe it's better that you're not trying to put anyone else into the mix. But it was a very good movie, really well done. And it kind of reminds you of a Scrooged kind of take on it, where they're not really full of themselves. Yep. But it was very nice.
And they reference Scrooge.
It was very nice.
We watched it here at home on Apple Plus. I'm still kind of like shaken by the amount of production that went into that. Yeah. There's so many extras. How many songs are in that? How many shows?
And the costuming.
It's endless.
The costuming was
the costuming. There's 100 characters in every song, and then the ending, which I don't know. Well, spoiler alert. The credits. There's another I don't know how many different edits in that closing tune. When did Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds become song and dance guys? It's crazy how much they did. That must have taken years to make.
It was
Ryan Reynolds, can you learn how to be a dancer?
Really well done. A lot of cameos.
It was great.
And I think because they're both very friendly individuals, they get a lot of people to do stuff for them.
I'm not a big Ryan Reynolds fan, but Will Ferrell fan, but I thought he was really good in this. He was really fun.
This was an Apple production?
I believe it is an Apple production,
They got a little bit of money, right?
A few bucks.
They got a little bit of money.
They got money to burn, right?
They sold some iWatches last year.
They're
so they had some little extra money.
They're like the guy in what's it called? What was that show in Jurassic Park? Spared no expense. Spared no expense. Why not?
And how was your Stranger Things guy in that?
David Harbour is a very good actor.
I like David Harbour.
It's really surprising how I don't know if anybody's watched Stranger Things. You watch Stranger Things and you see him and you think, "Boy, this guy's Hopper. He's pretty good." And you see him as like a down on his luck Saint Nicholas, where he's just like, my job's the worst, and he does all these different things throughout it. And then at the very end, it's like just a bloodthirsty, just fabulous thing, where he saves a little girl whose family's been taken hostage at Christmas, and he happens to be delivering to that house. It's just like, wow, wrong time for those guys. Santa's magic is taking a turn.
It's the best name for an evil Christmas movie ever.
Violent Night. And my youngest had said to my wife, "Oh, we saw Spirited, so now we have to go see this." And she just kept saying, "What is the name of this movie? Why are we going to see this?" And she came away from that saying it was a good. She'd go see it again. It didn't get to the whole greatest movie of all time like Spirited, but she said she'd go see it again. So yes, that's what
There
we've
you
seen,
go.
what we finished seeing so far. And then there's other
There
stuff
we
we're in
go.
the midst of, but
All right.
we'll get to that.
All right. Well, before we do that,
Let's get to another.
before Ange and I have a little. We're going to get to rye whiskey number 2 from Catoctin Creek.
Let's do it.
Dean, lead us.
Yeah, so next is our 92 proof, which we call our Distiller's Edition. So again, that same 100% unmalted rye starts with those same exact barrels, right? And these are the ones that we select. About 1 in 10 are selected to be this here. And we select these for an elevated spice. You get a little more heat, even the proof on this one here. And this is actually a little newer for us. By that, we added about 6 years ago, we added this to our lineup. But it's become a really big hit for us. Just really, really beautiful.
Does this spend the same amount of time in the barrel as the others?
Yes.
The only difference is how you cut it to 40 or 40, 46%, whatever, right?
Exactly. When we pull down those barrels, we're tasting them through, we're looking for an experience, right? And this one is looking for something a little more bite to it. And, as we get to cask proof, you'll sort of see the difference there. And this one is really driving cocktailing for us, right? It's got the backbone for those traditional whiskey forward cocktails where you want that proof to shine through. And so it's really been a great success for us.
I will say it makes a mean Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, not not Manhattan. I'm sorry,
Old-fashioned.
Old-fashioned.
Yes.
Old-fashioned.
Both.
Old-fashioned.
It makes it mean both.
I love the spiciness of it.
Yeah, it's good.
It starts to become more of what you expect out of a rye with that spiciness there. But the backbone is still that butterscotch. That sweetness is still there.
I think I get a lot more of the toffee on this than you get on the first one.
Yeah, you get like a caramel on the back end,
it's a great balance.
And I noticed that on both the first model and the second model here, they both have a handwritten batch number on them. Well, how much is in a batch?
So the batch number indicates when it was bottled. So in a batch, we've got 300 gallons. That's a good question. I don't know how much comes out of a batch. It's a 300-gallon batch is what these are out of.
Okay.
That's what we're doing right now. We're transitioning to the 600-gallon batches with the.
But you're making multiple batches per year.
Oh yeah. So we
you're
run
using 30-gallon barrels. Is that what you said? So
you're using 30-gallon either Minnesota or
So
Virginia.
you're pulling down 10 barrels at a time to make a batch.
So each bottle is a single barrel, right? So we're not blending barrels together to get the bottled product. Right. Those are all coming from single barrels. But the batch number indicates, when it was distilled for us. But everything are all single barrel offerings. Which
there's going to be some variance between bottles of a batch.
Yeah, and that's how we can get the different experience for the 80 to 92 in the cask, right? And that's why it's important for us to have all three of those proofs. And we don't bat 1,000, right? So not everything comes out the way we want it to. And so you can cover up a lot of sins with some red wine casks. So we'll toss those in some red wine casks that we use for private label or our barrel select program and stuff like that and all of that. But, the variance is coming from it being, different spot in the warehouse or, oak is not 100% consistent. Becky's amazing with her process and, we're rotating through the warehouse to try to keep a consistent flavor profile, but wood is wood, right? And each barrel itself is going to produce something a little bit differently. So absolutely, you get just the slightest amount.
I'm going to guess the seasonality of the rye is probably going to add some variability to it too. That in the spring or in the fall, it might be a little bit different. A little too much rain, not enough rain. It's going to change the way some of it goes too, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something that Becky does an amazing job with our farmers is ensuring that we're getting product that allows us a consistent flavor profile to mitigate all of those differences. So she's working with them, when they're planting to see if, there's another strain that would help their farm, right? Because we don't want to deplete their soil in a way. We want to make sure they remain sustainable, but also is going to give us, our flavor profile we're looking for to slowly integrate that into the batches so that, we're maintaining that flavor profile that's tough with single barrels. Right. I mean, it's no easy feat.
So American single malt, American whiskeys, not the bourbon world. There's been a big drive in the last 5 to 10 years about experimenting with all kinds of different varieties of barley in this country, and corn too, and other grains. It's not just corn. It's not just, rye. So because there's more than one kind of all of those things, right? Many, many kinds. Are you guys, is Becky, looking at experimenting different varieties of rye? Because there are so many.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that when she's working with the farmers, she's looking to find those different strains of rye that are going to be, again, sustainable for everybody, right? And that includes what our farmers can do, producing the yields that we need. We've been growing, quite quickly. So, the demand on our farmers is going up. So yeah, she's absolutely working at that. We're not currently as any sort of mainline expressions looking to do any like heritage ryes, specific, just single varietal stuff. It's only been 2 years that I went to the company. I'm going to wait for about year 3 or year 4 before I try to dump that on, our production team. But, we certainly within our main Roundstone line are playing around with that to just continue to be sustainable, right? Because that's part of what we're about.
What's the direct line, or is there one, from Catoctin Creek to historical Virginia rye? Aside from being in Virginia, is it a production process? Is it just the grain itself? What makes it kind of connect to 300 years ago or 200 years ago to the process?
We're trying to be as traditional in our production methods as we can be. Everything is done by hand, other than the laptop that Becky uses to keep track of inventory. There's not a computer to be found in the distillery. Somebody is tasting off of the still every 5 minutes to make sure those heads, hearts, and tails are coming through just right.
I want that job.
Well, it sounds great. It sounds fantastic until you realize that we run overnight shifts and you're drinking moonshine at 3:30 in the morning, and then it's not the. All right, Mike.
Mike applied for the job.
Just get him some brisket from Monks.
I'm up a lot.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
I'm up late.
But yeah, so trying to do that, and then trying to continue to use the local grains, right? Because if you were a farmer, or if you were a distiller 100 years ago, most likely you were distilling your own grain, right? Because that's how you sort of got to use it. While we don't have our own farm, maintaining that local presence and that local feel is what we're all about. So try to do everything as traditionally as possible is part of that link to the past.
Were the farmers
very good.
previously growing rye?
Okay. Most of them were growing, rye and other cereal grains, right? That sort of stuff. And as we've grown, we've sort of displaced some of those other grains, and we expanded to a couple of new farms as well. We try to use all organic rye in our process. Every once in a while we can't, but a long time ago, for anybody who saw some bottles, we used to be certified organic, but we aren't any longer. I don't think that anybody's looking for organic whiskey too often, but
a small market.
Yeah, I was just wondering because we talked to the guys behind Waterford, and they have a relationship similar, I guess, to you, with their different farmers, and they'll actually tell, this farmer grow this farmer grow this farmer grow that, and I guess rotate them, and they could actually pinpoint on the bottles what farm the grains came from, because they're again, like you guys, paying that much attention to what goes on, because the terroir matters. It's going to have some sort of effect. So I think that's great.
Yeah, it's super cool. And that's, getting to that level of detail on our labels is on our mind. But through our expansion, we've tried to focus on ensuring we've got the consistent product, and then we can.
Well, I'm not saying you should do that. I think those guys are a little OCD. I would love
to do it.
I think that there's just almost guaranteeing the consistency, that you're not going through a malting company, you're not going through a grain broker. You actually know the 3 farmers or 10 farmers, or whatever you're getting the grains from. I think that's enough.
Yeah, it's more than plenty, I think, for most people. and it keeps things really close to home that way. Hey, Ange, what have you watched recently that we can talk about?
Yeah, I'll go in order of things I finished. So, a while back we talked about Severance, and we had a guest on. We had Lisa Zambetti on, and you guys were talking about it. She said it was like the best thing she saw all year. On the first go around, I couldn't really get into it, but early November, went away with my wife and my youngest, and we went out to Phoenix, and I had a lot of flying time, up at 3 a.m. and 2 flights and all this stuff. So I downloaded the whole season, and I watched it over the 5 days that we were away. And I got to say, it was pretty fantastic. It was pretty fantastic. It's always better to watch a show like that when you're awake, as opposed to like half asleep.
It's a good rule.
Yeah, but it was really, really good, and I'm looking forward to season 2. So, everything about it was just great. The acting was great, the production design, the photography, the music is like gets stuck in your head. It really does get stuck in your head. The piano, that little chord thing in the beginning to the theme. It's just a really, really well done show. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. That Sunday night, The White Lotus season 2 finished up, and that was just a fun ride.
It's on everyone's list.
It was just a fun ride. I'm not going to say it's like, the most brilliant show ever made, but it was really good. It was really fun. It was really well acted. Again, the music, the photography, it makes me want to go back to Sicily, go visit some family, and, this time rent a car and actually see Sicily as opposed to being stuck in the hometown. It was really good. It was a lot of fun. Have you watched it at all, Dean?
No, it's on my list. It's on my want to watch list.
Did you watch
I
the first season?
Into it yet. No, I've not got into White Lotus at all.
Okay. Yeah, it was like a fluke. And the story behind it was, I think, it was during the pandemic. HBO called Mike White and said, hey, can you write a show for us that we can produce, with all the protocols in place and all this stuff? And he's apparently a big fan of Hawaii. I've heard a couple of interviews with him. He used to go there as a kid because he's a California guy. And he's like, yeah, I got an idea. We're going to take over the Four Seasons Hotel in Maui. We're going to get all these great actors. We're going to be stuck on the resort, and we're going to do this show. So they were there for like 3 months. So that's apparently the origin story. They basically contracted him and said, do this for us, and he did. So first season was good. I think the second season was a little more fun. It was a little more fun.
All right, Dean. I want to change my job. I don't want to be the 3 a.m. still guy anymore. I'll be the White Lotus guy. I want to go 3 months.
You want to be the boom operator for the White Lotus?
I could be a gaffer. I don't know what that is, but I could be a gaffer.
4 seasons Hawaii. That's all I need.
Yeah. And then so finished that up on Sunday. A lot of fun. It was great. We were like on the edge of our seat the whole time. It was great. It was just a good time. And last night I watched The Banshees of Inisherin. So that just dropped on HBO Max. And that was a really interesting movie. Really interesting movie. It's funny. It's sad. It's a little horrifying. It was really good. And Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson are just really fantastic together. So plus it's beautiful.
Those are good Irish folk.
What's that?
Those are good Irish folks.
Yeah. It was really, really good. So that's my watched list. Short, sweet, very good. I recommend all 3.
Mine is relatively short too. I just finished Sex Lives of College Girls.
Is it over?
The second season just dropped. Is that second season? I guess that's season 2.
Yeah, but it was only 8 episodes?
Only 8 episodes. And I just saw today that it got picked up for season 3.
Oh, well, then add that to my list because I just finished it too.
There you go. I think we've talked about we talked about Mindy earlier, right? With Adam Pawley. So this is a Mindy Kaling show, and it's loosely based on her college life, I think. And there's a character, an Indian American girl who's in it who wants to be a comedy writer. She's one of the 4 girls that the show is focused on. It's really funny. There's a lot of current event, topical items in the show, but it's very funny. And I've had a girl in college and another one in college, and so I can it's relevant and funny. I finished Dead to Me, the final season of Dead to Me on Netflix. I think that's season 4. I think, or was that season 3? 3. It was a nice ribbon on the gift to us all at the end. It was a nice show and fun, and it was a caper. Just a fun show and crazy, wacky. I watched a show on Netflix called Mo, and it stars Mohammed Amer. I think he's Palestinian. I'm not sure, but he grew up in Texas.
He's not Egyptian?
Maybe he's Egyptian. He might be right, but he's a stand-up, but he was also on the show on Hulu called Rami, which is another show based on a stand-up comedian who's from the Middle East and grew up in America. And Mo got his own show. Muhammad got his own show, and it's about him and his family living in Houston, and while trying to get through the amnesty program and become citizens. And they've been in the States for a long time, since the first Gulf War, I believe. And it's crazy. And he's got a girlfriend who's actually Mexican American, and his mom doesn't really want him to marry a Mexican American woman. And she's got a tattoo, and that's not very Islamic. And it's funny. He's a very funny guy. I actually started watching his. He's got a stand-up special on Netflix, and he's very funny and talking about living through the whole pandemic, and living in Houston and trying to travel and do stand-up. Very funny guy. I also watched a show called High School, and that's on an Amazon side channel called Freevee, I think. It's called Freevee, and it's about the music duo Tegan and Sarah, who are from Canada, and they're twin sisters, and they grew up in like Winnipeg, I believe, in the 90s, and how they grew up and had kind of interesting middle class childhood, and how they fell into music, and how they really tough growing up in high school. And they wrote a book about themselves about 2-3 years ago. And then I think Brad Pitt was part of the company that picked up the story to make a show out of it. So they found these twin girls to play them, the Tegan and Sarah, as kids, and watching their journey through high school, and somewhere along the line figuring out that maybe they like music. And it's maybe 10 episodes. It's the high school years kind of thing, and coming of age story. Really good. The last one, I think I told you about it, Ange. It's the weird one in my little group. It's called Brahmastra,
What?
Part 1, Brahmastra. Let's say I'll say it together.
Is this like the
Brahmastra.
Indian Bollywood
Yes.
thing on Apple
Yes.
TV Plus?
It's on Hulu.
Oh, it's on Hulu. Okay.
Yes. And it is the first major attempt to create a Indian Marvel cinematic universe. It's a crazy, complicated 3-hour Bollywood meets Marvel superhero rom-com story. It is with special effects that your ears and your eyes will bleed during this thing, with all the colors and a lot of fire. And it is insane. And my wife and I took 3 nights to watch it, because it's almost 3 hours long. And it's only part 1. There's 2 more parts coming. And the company behind this is trying to literally create their own version of the MCU for Indian TV, or Indian market, but it can be any market, right? And it is crazy, and there's a little bit of Star Wars storytelling to it all. It's nuts. And we watched it in Indian with subtitles, and it's let's break out into a song with 400 people running around
a coordinated dance
in the middle of the city in a coordinated dance. Oh, and there's a big fire-eating god standing on top of us. It is crazy. So Brahmastra Part 1, Shiva, on Hulu. If you got 3 hours of your life, you want to, kill. There you go. Those are my what I watched shows. So there you go. Let's move on to our third whiskey.
Do it.
Third rye.
We're gonna rabble rouse. We're gonna rabble. We're gonna rouse.
We're gonna rabble here.
Rouse, Catoctin Creek. I should mention that this is what we watch when we drink. We are with Dean Kaplan, the president of sales and marketing for Catoctin Creek in Virginia.
Purcellville, Virginia.
So, Dean, where are we here? Let's talk
Yeah.
about the rabble rouser.
So this is a rabble rouser. This is our bottled in bond expression. So one of the oldest things that we produce, still that same 100% unmalted rye. We do distill this just a little bit differently. On this, when you're looking at the still behind me, we actually open up that column completely when we do the distillation for this. So you get a little more of those oils and esters coming through. And then we actually put it into barrel a little bit lower. So the Roundstone rye goes into barrel at 119.5, and we put this into barrel at 116. And the result is a totally different whiskey here. A little more rough around the edges, a little more rambunctious, which is why we call it our rabble rouser. And this here is just some of my favorite stuff in the world.
Is this the current one that we're trying?
So this, you guys have last year's release, I believe. We release this once a year in February. So I was excited to share this with you guys because we just finished bottling everything for this year. I've got my allocations out to all my distributors. They're picking it up right now, so it'll hit shelves in late February. But super small production. I mean, we're talking about 750 bottles.
That's it
for the whole year. Yeah.
Well, this says bottle 232 of 408 on this.
Wow.
My bottle.
And we got two of them.
Yeah.
Look at that. Aren't we
You
special?
got two of them. Yeah. So let's see. So we've got the same 408. So this upcoming year we're releasing a little bit more, which is great. But yeah, super small production on it, and just
oh my god, it's just delicious.
Get almost like a chocolate note on it too.
It's a little more feisty.
It's got
a little bit more
like a dark,
it's like a little oily.
Yeah,
too.
like oily and like a dark chocolate note to it. It's nice.
I think they're like a candied yams or oh my gosh.
Did you have dinner, Aaron? Did you not have dinner? You didn't eat dinner?
I ate dinner. This is the second dinner.
Oh, okay. You're like a hobbit for whiskey.
The result of this is something special, right? It really comes out really well. And it's a really fun cap because it's not too far off from what our core, tastes like, but it is different. And it certainly is something special. I cherish every bottle of this that I can get my hands on.
Age-wise, it's like similar age on all these?
No, so this is 4 years.
Okay.
Here. The Roundstone is right around 2 years in those 30-gallon barrels.
Okay.
So this is twice as old as that. And this upcoming year is actually our last year that we'll have it in the same 30 gallons. We're moving to 59 gallon, I think, 53 or 59s moving forward. It's going to be our first, full large format barrel aging for us, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Those will actually be a little bit older than the 4 years to keep the same flavor profile since you're getting a larger barrel.
Less wood, right?
They don't age on site, do they? Or they age somewhere?
Not at the distillery.
Because you don't have that kind of room there, I don't think.
No, and
you're gonna put them in the backyard.
Yeah, exactly, right. The count or the city won't let us do any sort of crazy expansion for that. So we have a warehouse about 40 minutes further west into the foothills of the mountains.
Okay.
And it's a non-temperature controlled, just natural
that was my next
temperature.
question. It's just
super cool. And what's really fun is that with the mountains there, we get some really good temperature swings. So especially when we talk about the next one, we get some great color even for just 2 years, right? I'm a Midwest guy, right? You guys are up in the Northeast. We know what winter truly is, but Virginia does still get winters.
Oh yeah,
right? They do get a little bit of snow. Now they'll shut down the distillery if we get an inch or two, and I take a picture out my window, and I've got to go see 10 accounts, and I've got like 6 feet of snow out there. So they don't know how to handle a winter, but we do get all those winters, and so all 4 seasons really does allow us to get that complexity within our terroir that we've got. So it's a sort of a non-disclosed location about 40 minutes west, and we just actually expanded into the next bay, laying down additional product for our growth.
All the barrels have the same char.
Yeah, we use a level
So
3
this isn't
char
a,
on
even
all
though
those.
this tastes, I guess because it's 4 years instead of 2 years, it tastes so much deeper.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does.
It almost seems like it's a different
Yeah.
char. You're getting a
No,
lot more
it's
notes.
that same char, but just that
Oh,
extra
extra char.
time.
Yep.
And we found that depth on the round stone barrels, if we go really anything past 3 years, right? I've got some barrel samples of stuff that's a little bit older. We start to lose what makes round stone, right? We start to get overwooded. We lose that character of that local grain that we're so proud of, right? We love our farmers. We want that grain to shine through. And so it's that it's a really delicate balance between, getting enough age on it, but not losing the character of the grain in there.
This is really just delicious. Boy,
Mm-hmm.
even the 4 points higher in ABV than the previous one, it doesn't feel that much hotter at all.
No,
it's
No,
very,
it's
very
fuller though. Like it's deeper.
It's approachable. It doesn't scare you off. We like whiskeys with high numbers, and sometimes it even scares us. But this is definitely not in that family.
Sometimes it feels gimmicky.
No fear.
Like you released an overproofed just to be like, oh, look at us, we released something overproof. Where this is 50%, but it's right where it needs to be. It's good. It's really good. It doesn't taste like it's a dare. It tastes like you did this with some thought behind it to make a really good product.
No, and I appreciate that. And what's really funny is, that juxtaposition of the 92 versus the 100, right? So the 92, as I said, and it really becomes even more apparent when we move to the next one, that has more heat on it for 92 than even our cask proof at cask proof, right? And that's an intentional choice. When we're choosing those barrels, that's the experience that we're looking for, because on that 92, we're looking for it to be used in cocktails. So you want it to have, that, punch. Not everybody does, but when I have a whiskey cocktail, I want to know there's whiskey.
You want the whiskey to hold up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it is interesting. And, when we're at shows like, Whiskeys of the World or Whiskey and Barrel Night or whatever, all those sort of things, and you get to taste through them side by side, the feedback I get from consumers is always great, because they go, I think this one is less hot than, it's so fun to see that difference even in perception, right?
We were just talking about this,
I think,
on our last show, about how it just blows us away still after all these years, how something with a high number can be very not high numbery, and you get something that's in a low number and all of a sudden your mouth's on fire. It is just weird. And we questioned whether or not is the number right? Or is it us?
All lies.
What is going on? Yeah. It is strange. And this is one of those numbers. This 50 does not taste like a 50 that I would think this is going to be not unapproachable, but just it's going to be hot. And it's not.
Yeah.
No.
It's great.
Nope.
Not at all.
No, thank you.
It's a sipper.
So we can transition here to a little more TV talk. Dean, what have you been in the middle of watching?
Not a lot.
Watching?
Yeah, I've got like a dearth of
so
things
much,
that I'm excited about right now. It's really, I'm excited to hear what you guys are watching and what you guys are recommending, because I need some things in my queue.
We'll give you some stuff.
But a couple, but I've been watching The Patient on Hulu.
Oh, how was
I want to watch that.
Yeah, I'm like 3 episodes in. It's great. Steve Carell is awesome in it. Like, it's a really, really fun.
How's Donald Gleason?
He's great. I mean, the whole the show is fantastic. It's not as dark as sort of the premise or the previews have made it seem. I recommended it to my mom, who wants nothing to do with anything dark, and she burned through it pretty quick. So I've just got to find the time to finish it. So that's that. And then I'm about 2 or 3 episodes in on Netflix of Killer Sally, which is an interesting documentary. Yeah, see, this is how different everybody's Netflix algorithm is, right? Because as soon as this came up, it got served to me with all the documentaries I watch. It's a documentary about a bodybuilder, a female bodybuilder, who kills her bodybuilder husband. And it's a crazy story. And
when did this happen?
In 1996.
Oh, this is like true crime documentary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, an
Was it
actual
a
documentary.
United States?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I had no idea it even happened. It popped up on my, you might like this, and I got sucked into it, but I've got one episode left to watch, and the episodes are pretty much interviewing Sally and the kids
The real
and,
Sally?
the real Sally, yeah.
Wow.
And, I've been trying to do a good job of not getting on the internet and figuring out, like, is she in jail or interviewing her from jail? She's in a room that looks like it could be, but it might just be, a sort of derelict room. She's wearing what could be prison issue. So it's really interesting. Like, I don't know the resolution of it, which is great, right? I just, that she killed her husband because that's the first stinger of the thing, but you don't know what the resolution of the whole thing is. So it's really interesting.
Wow. Killer Sally? That was it called?
Yeah.
Killer Sally. Okay. Wow, that's a good one. We have to check that on out.
Yeah,
that's
I'm a
what I got
sucker for
going
crime
on
as well, so I'm with you. Not so much documentaries, but if it's a crime like show or crime theme show, I'm all in on it. Usually, it's fun, and crime crime fiction's fun too.
Nah, that's all I've got in the queue right now.
Well, this
I've
is
got
your
stuff
busy
that I
time,
want
right?
to watch, but I'll share that with you.
This is big time right now. This time of year,
Dean's probably traveling around like crazy, like a madman with whiskey shows. And
once December hits, it's kind of foot on the pedal to sell as many cases as possible.
Get them out the door for the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I'm actually, for the first time in my entire life, so I've been in this industry since I was 13 years old. My dad bought a store when I was 13. I didn't have a weekend or a holiday until I was, 32. Wow. And so I'm taking, for the first time in my life, I'm taking from the 20th of December through the end of the year off.
Oh, good for you.
I'm ecstatic. My wife and I are going to Europe for the holidays.
Whoa.
And I'll have some time on the plane to watch some stuff, and I'm looking forward to it.
Where are you going?
Where are you going?
Yeah, where to?
We're going to spend 5 days in Paris, and then 3 days in Brussels, and then back to Paris, and then home.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Beautiful.
That'll be good.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's fun. All right.
Yeah. Can't wait.
What are you watching, Mike?
We finally are starting to hit the stuff that we were supposed to watch over the summer, which, I'm a little behind. Baseball ruins everything.
Baseball
are about halfway through The Flight Attendant, season 2.
I got to go back to that too.
And
I got to go back to season 2. Shoot, I forgot about that.
I don't know that I'll be watching it with the crew because they're at the point now where they think it's just too much. So I'll probably have to finish it.
Too much?
They're just like, I just don't know that I like it. I just don't.
That's fun.
It's
crazy.
And to cap off Christmas, we're watching the Santa Clauses with Tim Allen, where he wants to retire and not be Santa and has to pick someone new. So they're going through that whole thing, and that's actually better than I expected. And we're watching The Boys Found.
Is there a new one? Is there a new Santa Claus?
It's a TV show.
Is there a new one?
It's like 8 or 10 episodes of Santa retiring. They bring back a lot of the people from the movies to go and be part of the cast, and they're.
Where's that available? Disney?
I think it's Disney Plus, and we are about to start the new Jack Ryan. We watched the first one or two of season 1. So the boys are like, "Oh, let's watch this. It's got Jim from The Office. It'll be good." So we watched the first one.
I just saw the trailer for. Is it season 3?
Yeah, they're far into it.
Out?
So this will be what we binge now.
I need to go back.
My boys will be off. One will be off from high school for 5 days or so, and my college boy won't go back till February. So we have a lot of shows to binge. So there's a lot of time. So I think we'll blow through a lot of that. So that's kind of what we're on right now.
Wow, I need to start that. I said I was going to start that when it came out, and I never did. And then I've heard really good things about Krasinski doing. I don't know. Is he a Jack Ryan?
I think Jack Ryan is supposed to be like an everyman.
And he is an everyman.
He's an average kind of guy. And the thing especially
and Dean sort of looks like
especially in the book.
Especially
in the books, it gets kind of thrust upon him. He's an analyst. It's almost like I'm too old for this shit kind of stuff where I'm just an analyst. I'm just an analyst. And he says that a lot in the books. And in the first episode, he says it. I'm like, well, I think he's staying a little truer to the Jack Ryan-ish character from the books than the James Bondish kind of character that he devolved into when as he was through some of the movies. I think it's more like a younger Harrison Ford playing him, as opposed to the other two guys. And I think he worked. He works well, at least through the first episode and a half we watched.
I do want to check it out. And what have you been dealing with at the time we're in now here?
What do we got? Well, I didn't get to finish Andor, and I feel like I missed a few things.
That's good.
So I'm going back to the beginning. I want to start it all over again and watch it.
Right, Vizzini.
Easily the best post-movie Disney Star Wars series of all of them.
Easily. So you liked it better than The Mandalorian?
The Mandalorian is more Star Warsy, and this is less Star Warsy.
Mandalorian's a little lighter. This is a lot heavier.
Yeah. Yes.
This is, it's a heist movie.
It's a Western, right?
A political thriller. It's it's a spy thriller. You got all this stuff. You got all this crazy stuff going on. It's good. And I was listening to an interview with, I think it was Tony Gilroy. He was on The Watch, and I think they were talking about it. And there's basically it's like 4 movies over 12 courses because there's like 4 3-episode arcs. That go in. It's really interesting the way they did it. But I got to get back to it. Because I missed the last 2, and I lost some momentum with everything else that was going on. So I do want to see it again. But it is really well done. I got to go back to Andor. The Shaq documentary has been kind of fun on HBO.
What day of the week does that get released?
I think it's Wednesdays. I think tonight was like the 3rd or 4th episode.
Okay. 4th one.
And I didn't watch any basketball for like 20, 30 years. So I don't know any of these stories. So it's all new to me. Like watching The Last Dance, the whole Michael Jordan thing with the Bulls, that was all new to me. So I'm like, this is great. This is fun. And Shaq is just so entertaining. My God. Yes. That guy is he is a piece of work. The guy is just hysterical.
I'm watching that too. And he's hysterical. He's larger.
He's a little cocky.
Life. He's a lot of cocky. And he can be cocky when you're 350 pounds and 7 foot.
But I get a feeling though part of it is a little tongue in cheek with him.
Oh, it is. He's a big kid.
It's the mystique.
Right. He's a big kid. It's a mystique. And growing up here in LA, and the Lakers are everything, and that era was really fun, but it was also very dark. And we're kind of getting to that in the series now.
Yeah.
And there's lots of ups and downs, and the Kobe Shaq years are kind of great and not so great at the same time. And his whole background is just fascinating.
His parents are phenomenal.
He has
his mom.
He has my all-time favorite quote when he just goes and says, "Matter of fact, I've won at every level except high school, college, and the pros." And people were like writing it down, like, "Wait a minute, you've never won anything." And that's what he said before he got out to the Lakers and started winning. I've won at every level except high school, college, and the pros. What level is there?
It's very entertaining. I like the way it's done too.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's a lot of fun. So Andor, Shaq, and I think Fleischman is in trouble still going. There's a couple more episodes.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
So that's an interesting show. I like it, but I can see how someone wouldn't like it.
Do you know this one, Dean?
I think it's on my I'm not sure if I would like it list. I think I've read a little bit, not sure if I would like it.
It's pretty interesting. There is now, and I know, like, sometimes I just kind of go with the story and get into the characters and all that. So I'm not picking up the little nuances, but I do read up when I like a show just to see, like, what the hell happened? What was that all about?
What did I miss?
And then you get some insights. So it's pretty good. So there's a guy on YouTube. He goes by One Mike. He's out of Detroit. And he does really good recaps. And he's been really breaking it down. So the guy's like, I watch it, I take notes, I go back, I think about it, and then I record my recap with all my insights. And I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to spoil it. I don't know where you're at, Aaron, in the show, but it's pretty good.
I was a little apprehensive. You talked about it, and I decided to give one episode a shot, and then you sucked me in. And as much as I don't like or love a lot of the characters, the story has sucked me in, and it's a little bit, it's stressful, and but it's really well done. It's very good.
Yeah.
So I think I'm caught up with it.
Okay. Yeah. So am I. I think the next episode drops tonight.
Friday.
So it'll be available tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow night. I'm not sure. But it's an interesting show. So that's where I'm at. So not a whole lot.
I got a couple. One that it's one of the, so this is a whole different conversation about the shows that get dropped all at once, Netflix, or the ones that are coming out weekly, which kind of either drives you crazy or you love it. So I started watching Tulsa King on Paramount Plus with Sylvester Stallone, and I knew it would be kind of throwaway kind of stuff.
Andrea Savage is in it.
Andrea Savage is in it. I can't believe you didn't know that.
I know, because I saw her. I saw her Instagram feed. I like her. She's so much fun.
She is great, and that was probably the reason I turned it on, because we like her so much. And I had heard an interview with Stallone on the CBC before this came out, and he was so interesting. I was stunned how much I liked the interview and how much I liked him, and him actually happily retelling stories about his past and about making Rocky and being really honest about his career and about how people didn't like him and the way he speaks and taking a lot of crap. And here he is, 75-ish.
Is he 75?
I think so. And at least he is in the show. He's 75. I think he's close.
He might be. He's pretty close. Yeah,
he might be.
Rocky was over 40 years ago.
There you go. And he wrote that himself, and look at where he is now, and he's talking about the whole Rambo stuff. It was really interesting. Anyway, so it's he's a mobster who goes to jail. He's in jail for 25 years, and that's not fleshed out yet exactly what happened and why. He gets out in New York City where he's a capo. He goes back to his family after getting out, and of course the Don of his era is medically can't do much anymore, so his son has taken over. His son is one of the cops from The Wire, and I can't think of his name. And he's now the head of the family, and all the capos are
what's his name? Herc? Is it Dominic Lombardozzi or whatever?
Yes, him. And so all of the next generation has taken over. So 75-year-old Stallone is sort of out of a job. So it's this thing about, well, now what? And so instead of letting him kind of come back to his old job's not there. So they send him to the new Don, the son of the old Don, sends him to Tulsa to start a new territory. And he doesn't know anything about Tulsa. He doesn't know anything about cell phones because he's been in jail for 25 years, prison. And he has to kind of create this job and create this territory for himself. And
so it's like a mob startup.
It's a mob startup. It's a startup.
They franchised.
It's a franchise. and there are franchise fees, so they got to kick up to the Don. So
So it's him dealing with the past and his family who hasn't seen him for 25 years. His daughter's estranged. And
so who's Andrea Savage in this?
She is an ATF agent, and he meets her in episode 1. This is not some big giveaway. He meets her out at a bar in Tulsa, and she's with all her girlfriends at I think sort of either a girls' night out or a bridal shower thing, and they get together, her and him, in his hotel. He stays in the nicest hotel.
So she wasn't on the job. This was
she wasn't on the job. She had no idea. She's divorced, I believe, and the next morning, they start talking, and she's getting ready to leave or maybe stay, and he kind of just mentioned something about being 75, and she's like, what the hell, 75? She can't get out of there fast enough. And then she finds out in a meeting the same day that this Sylvester Stallone character is just been released from prison and now is in Tulsa, and she's like, what the hell? She didn't say this, but she's that's the same guy.
Yeah. I may have ran into him.
I may have met him in a bar. So it's actually, it drops weekly, and it's sort of fun. It's, it could have been on CBS on Friday nights, but it's kind of fun.
Where's it at? Is it on Paramount?
Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Yeah. Slow Horses on Apple Plus, which is, I think, only a short kind of season. It's a British crime drama about the MI6
or MI5, one of those.
MI5, whatever that is, the Scotland Yard guys or whatever they are, and about this one group of the Slow Horses, which are these the the bad apples of the Secret Service, and they are, or CIA.
Hey, Dean, did you watch The Wire?
I watched a little bit. It's on my. I need to go do it, but I've not watched the whole.
You should watch.
So you know how they had the detail where they basically just took a bunch of like loser cops and put them like in the basement of that building. Well, this is sort of the same thing.
Horses.
Right.
Okay.
You know, some folks are put out the pasture. Some folks are put into basically like purgatory, like the one guy, the one young guy. He's essentially in purgatory, right?
Weren't you in the basement?
And that's what all these guys.
Andrew, weren't you in the basement of your building at one point in time?
I'm in the basement right now. I never left the basement. The Wire is life.
So that's good. That's like 4 episodes in, I think, on Apple Plus, and season 2. And then I just started watching this thing that popped up, like Dean says. I don't know if Amazon Prime does that same thing where it sort of knows what you want to watch. The algorithm is like looking at you. It's called Three Pines. It's a Canadian crime drama based on some books about an investigator who is from Montreal, played by Alfred Molina, and he's sent to the eastern part of Quebec to follow up on a murder. And it's again based on these books, and it's done in a really interesting way. It's 8 episodes, and every 2 episodes is one complete story. So the first 2 episodes are a story, basically one crime. The next 2 are another crime, and it's all in this same town of Three Pines. And then there's an overriding story that has to do with the way Indigenous kids were treated going into the residential school system in Canada, forced into by the government. It's really good, and it's sort of, I don't want to say like Twin Peakish, but it's it's in the woods in Quebec, and it's cold and it's snowy and it's pretty, and the town's quirky. And he's this amazing investigator, and he's got a little team with him. It's really, really good. Three Pines, Amazon Prime. I highly recommend that one. So that's what we're watching. That's what we're in the middle of. And now, what are we drinking? We are moving on. Catoctin Creek.
Number 4.
To our final whiskey.
This whiskey with
our final rye. Where are we, Dean?
So we got our cask proof here.
Woo!
And so let's take a look at your bottles here. So mine's coming in at 116. What do you guys got there?
116. 58%.
I need some glasses.
So this is batch number 21E28, bottle 488 out of 654.
Yeah, there we go.
Is it 55? 59? I can't really tell.
Mine says 58.
Oh, is it 58?
It's
is that an 8?
What? Yeah, it's probably 58. Okay. Because that's the most prevalent. So we see 116 being the most prevalent of our cask proof. We'll get out between 112 and 120, but we see most, I'd say 90% of them come out at 116.
So this is bottle 495 of 654 or 485.
On the nose, you would not know that this is hot.
No.
Not at
and
all.
so we don't chill filter anything on our line, and it's most apparent here on this cask proof, right? And looking at it, you get some, you get really, really good color, even just for the 2 years that we discussed, and really, really well rounded. This one here, that butterscotch to me just really, really shines through.
On the nose, it's really elegant.
It's not super vapory either. Like, it's not like burning
Not
my nose
vapory,
when I go in.
exactly.
I mean, I'm going in here.
Let's go.
Man,
Go
yeah,
for it.
I am in the glass, and it's not hurting.
And it's not hurting at all, right?
Yeah, not at all.
So this is one of those ones where you go, it's not 58%.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Just do a shot. Just kick it back.
Just do it ain't burning your nose hairs. It's fine.
It's hot on the taste,
it's
but it's well rounded.
Yeah. No, it is all of 116, but I don't think it drinks quite that hot.
It's
right?
hot, but it's not 116 hot.
Yeah. And what I love, I mean, it gets me in trouble. Believe me, this is what I like the most out of our Roundstone line. But this on a big rock just goes down real easy. And you could put down a couple of 2 fingers, and you might not be feeling so good tomorrow.
The extra 10 points over the 46 is enough to get you in a little bit of trouble.
Hey, Dean, you had said your dad had opened a store. You mean was it a liquor store or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad, similar to Scott, my dad had been an attorney for 20 years and bought a store that had been around since 1971. And
Okay.
he bought a store in my hometown of Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I started sweeping floors and stocking shelves and telling guys like me I don't want any and get out. So I learned all that good stuff. And yeah, I haven't looked back.
Oh, so you're from Michigan originally?
Yeah, from Michigan. Yeah.
What brewery's in Kalamazoo? Is that Bell's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or Bell? Is it Bell or Bell's?
Actually, Bell's. Yeah. Larry Bell, the owner or the founder, his daughter and I went to high school together. We graduated, and after we graduated, went to college. We both said we would never work for our dads, and then surprise, surprise, after college, we were both working for our dads.
On this cast-proof one, between the other three, how do we get from the bottom there at 40% up to here? What's the process difference?
Yeah, so we pull down about a dozen barrels at a time, and we taste through each of them in each individual proof, right? And as I said earlier, we're looking for an experience. And so for that 80 proof, we're looking for that soft, approachable, just really crowd-pleasing experience. On that 92, it's that elevated spice, a little bit of extra heat on it. And on these cask proof, we're looking for those that when you drink it, it's well-rounded, it's big, it's bold, but it's easy enough to drink. You're tasting this and you're saying, I can't do anything to this. This is what I want it to taste like. The team tasting through the barrels is a majority female team. In fact, Scott got kicked off the panel because his
he ruined everything.
They kicked him off the island.
Like his input was like, they're all great. And they said, well, that's not useful information. So they give him a tumbler of whiskey and send him back to his spreadsheet.
See, that would be like me on the panel. It just wouldn't work.
Yeah, what's the point?
That was good.
We need someone with a critical eye.
But yeah, so then that's what it is. And this comes out at barrel proof, right? We're bottling it at exactly what it comes out of that barrel. So that's why you have a little bit of variance in that cask proof stuff. But they're big and bold and well balanced. And it just truly is the perfect expression of Virginia rye whiskey.
And what's the availability of these on a yearly basis on the cask strength ones?
So it is now an everyday item. It previously was released just twice a year, but as we've expanded our capacity, we're able to support this being an annual release.
Even a volume.
It does. Yeah. It's about 1 in 70 barrels end up getting picked for this.
Oh.
So, but it is a super premium. You're going to see it on the shelf between, $75 and $85 a bottle. So, you're not.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not going to fly like, 35
it's not
$40
$35.
like
No, but
but still, that's per cask strength.
With all the craziness that's going on with the bourbons and the American whiskeys,
forget it.
I had this long discussion on Saturday. I went to a friend's house. We had a whole bunch of whiskeys, and they're talking about what was it? What's the one? Blanton's. It was a $45 bottle of whiskey. Now you can't even find it. I mean, it's good. I like it, but do I like it that much? No. There's so much. I'm like, find something else. Find some Catoctin Greek.
Yeah,
totally. There are so many really cool small producers. I mean, there's 20. I think there's 2,700 craft distilleries in the United States right now, right? And so I have a couple of friends who are about a decade too late getting into finally deciding to collect whiskey. For the last decade, all they've done is mocked me for caring about this, and now they're finally into it. And they're the guys who are going out and looking, spending too much for Blanton's or Weller or all these allocated things. Like, guys, going to a bottle share to show up that you overpaid for something allocated is not interesting. Nope. Find a small producer that's doing something cool, right? Catoctin Creek, there's tons of us, right? There's a Frey Ranch that's doing true farm to glass, right? You've got Woodinville doing something similar.
Your backyard in Chicago.
Koval. Koval, right. Few. I mean, Few is amazing too. And then, my buddies are all in Michigan, and there's some great distilleries in Michigan.
Who's the one in Michigan? One of the smaller ones.
Goat.
Mike, you had it before. What was the 3-pack we reviewed?
Put me on the spot.
Crap.
Like I remember anything.
You know what I'm talking about.
I got the 3. I bought the 3 bottles. Oh, I can't think of the code.
Oh, whatever. We'll get back to it. But it, great stuff.
Yeah. There's and so that's for me that's a cool part of this journey, right? Like let's find somebody that's doing something really cool that is great quality.
Corsair.
That's not homogenous, right?
No.
Like that's why we make it. We make Catoctin Creek Rye whiskey to taste like Catoctin Creek Rye whiskey, and we're proud that we taste the way that we do, and we're proud to stand up for it.
So on that note about something unique that's fun and affordable and attainable, you guys do some interesting pairings with interesting cast finishes. Talk about that stuff, because I know some of it. So jump in and throw some interesting things that you guys are doing or coming up or experimenting with.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of those cool one-off cask finishes, which are really a testament to Becky's relationships within the industry. She's able to get some really, really cool stuff. We use those for our, barrel select program, right? So we've got key retailers and partners that go ahead and do it. So heading into 2023, we've got some really fun stuff laid down. I've got some Madeira, some Curacao. So we did a couple of Curacao barrels way before I started, and they were a huge hit.
Like
we were only able to get
Curacao's
one barrel
orange
this day.
liqueur? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So it's a barrel that held the orange liqueur?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's gotta be fun. It's like an old fashioned in a barrel, right?
Exactly, right? You don't need to add just a couple dashes of bitters and you're good to go.
Right.
We've got some really cool wine finishes. So Pinot Noir, Cabernet, Chardonnay. And then one of the cool things that we do annually is we actually work with brewers to do a malt series. So the only thing that we produce whiskey-wise that's not 100% rye is this malt series, where you take the uncarbonated beer as the mash and turn that into a whiskey. So we just on Black Friday released our Harper's Malt, which was a collaboration with Dewclaw, sort of a Baltimore localish brewery for us. That was fantastic. I got to taste it this past weekend when I was down there, and it was awesome. We're always trying to find stuff like that. It's really fun. We get to do sort of for a lot of people, we do a triple release where we'll do the beer, the whiskey aged in the whiskey made from the beer, and then the beer aged in whiskey barrels. So it's a lot of fun, and being a small team, we get to do a lot of creative stuff. So Becky's an amazing mind. We've got some really good distillers on our team that come up with some cool stuff as well. And we can pivot pretty quick, right? So, if somebody has a great idea that, we can make the numbers work. Scott, Becky, and I are all engineers by training. So we all love our spreadsheets, which is really great for me. So, plug it all into the spreadsheet. And if the number comes out positive, we'll go ahead and give it a try.
So Virginia has a lot of wineries, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys work with local wineries to get casks?
Yeah, we do a little bit with local wineries for casks. We do some Virginia port finishes, which have been really cool. We also do at the distillery, we do some brandies. And so that's really where we're using those wineries and cideries. So we use, when I say the grain for the whiskey comes from within 100 miles, all of our fruit or juice that goes into the brandies is from 50 miles, within 50 miles of our distillery. And that's where we really utilize those local farmers for that stuff.
Was it Loudoun County? Is that where Purcellville is?
Yeah, Loudoun County.
Right.
Yep.
And it's like farm country out there.
It certainly is.
Between the vineyards and the orchards and whatever else is growing out there. Rolling hills.
Wasn't it last year you guys released, or maybe it was Kilhoman, did a finish in one of your barrels, right?
Yep. And we've done a trade with them. So we've got some of those barrels back.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Well,
so
smoky rye? You're going to do a peaty rye?
Well, man.
We'll see. We'll see how it comes out. So those actually just got filled 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we're not even seeing what they came out with. But somebody's going to get really lucky with whatever that comes out like. We're really excited.
We are Kilhoman geeks too. We love the Kilhoman.
Mike, road trip for that opening. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that process.
Okay.
Come on, we get there in an hour and a half.
So when you
when
you use one of these other barrels, it's typically 2 years. Then you release. How much longer does it stay in one of those barrels? Depends on the barrel type, or is there like some?
Yeah, it really does depend on the barrel type. And what we typically do is we'll do 12 to 18 months in that new oak. We won't go the full 2 years in that new oak. And then depending on what that finish is, it'll spend 6 months, right? So we do a hot honey finish. So there's a local honey farm that uses our barrels to age spicy honey.
Whoa.
And then we get them back. And that doesn't need a whole lot of time because that honey will do a lot of work quick. But then with some of our brandy barrels, right? So we do great brandy. We've had some of them sit for 5 years in those brandy barrels.
Wow.
And so, whatever, we'll play around with it and however it's coming out. And it's a really, really fun experiment to get to taste it. And, it is a guessing game, right? And you're really hoping that you get it right. And
Becky's doing the tasting stuff. And getting the spreadsheet ready, right? So they're
I've got the spreadsheet right here with all it is. We know when it's going to be ready, and I'm priming some key retailers all across the country and saying, hey, all right, I'll need a couple of things, but we've got some cool stuff coming.
With these like not one-offs, but experimental type stuff, is it like a barrel or two? I mean, you're not doing a full run. You're just going to try it out for a couple barrels, see how it works.
Yes, it's just a barrel or two here or there, and it depends on the availability of those barrels for us. So the hot honey, because it is somebody locally, we are looking at potentially making that a line extension. But for us, we're still the phase of the company where just getting our brand awareness out there and Roundstone Rye being known by consumers is what we're working at. Right. And I'm a huge advocate for let's focus on our core business. Let's grow our brand before we start sprinkling in too much stuff, because then you start losing it. Right. And one thing that I definitely see with, private barrel consumers is they're not brand loyal. Right. They're looking for the next barrel pick. They're not looking for the rye whiskey that they had, to come from the Kilchoman finish back to our standard cask proof. So, I'm trying to be really conscious of growing the brand in a sustainable way and not just chasing after the low hanging fruit of all these barrels.
Are you nationwide at this point, or how many states are you in?
So we're in 28 states right now.
I mean, is it like working from east going out west, or is it just depends?
All over the place, right? Okay. So, we're along the West Coast. We're in California, Washington, Arizona, out west, Colorado as well. Through the South, we've got Texas and Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, and then all along the East Coast we run up. So we're a small team. For those 28 states, I'm managing, let's say, 22 of them myself. So, trying to make sure I'm giving time to my distributor partners and my retailer partners, because that's the name of the game. And, not trying to go too wide too fast, because that's a recipe for disaster.
Are you in Pennsylvania?
So we actually just kicked off Pennsylvania. Let's say it was September of last year. How
much of is it a chore for somebody like you to get into control states?
What's really interesting though, with control states, what does happen is it levels the playing field just a little bit between the big guys and the small guys. So in states where you're not able to play the pricing games and all this sort of gray area stuff that happens in an open market like Illinois, the big guys can't do all of that stuff. So what really happens is you can see the true health of your brand, right? So you can, do the little things like making sure you're on end caps and stuff like that. And so it's not as much work truly once you get into the control state as it is in an open market, because it can become a perpetual motion machine, which is really fun.
But for I know Pennsylvania in particular, because that's our neighboring state, for the SKUs, you can put in your 40%, and then if you want to introduce something else, it's almost like you have to start from square one again to start it over. So for some of the barreling you're doing, if you're doing the one-offs, you would never introduce them into a control state, because it would just be almost onerous to get, well, we're only going to do this once. We're only going to get 500 bottles out of it. By the time I get this into this state, I'm going to be dead. Why bother?
What's really funny though is depending on the state licensing board, and some are easier than others, some of them love those one-offs. So doing a barrel pick with the licensing board can get you in faster because they get some ownership,
and you'll give them
right?
a lion's share of whatever that lot is. Oh, okay. So
correct.
So maybe they don't want the 40; they want the Madeira cask. Because
Pennsylvania's got that whole SLOs, the special, the limited edition stuff.
Yeah.
So, but you have to order from them and just pick it up or whatever because they hold them central.
And so and again, that's if I can use that as the carrot to get me in wider distribution. Sure. I'll do it all day long, right? Because then I'm growing the brand. So it is, everything is a calculation as to, how do I use this liquid for the most effect.
All right. So Dean, we have one more that you have kindly sent us. And I was stunned to see this. I did not know you guys did a gin.
Yeah. So gin was sort of a happy accident. Right. So when we first started, we had 100 gallons still. And Becky realized that taking the tails from a 100-gallon batch, putting them in the next batch for a single barrel process, that bitterness, that oiliness was really going to come through. So she started collecting them and not sure what she was going to do. And luckily she didn't make vodka because I don't want to sell vodka. I don't want to talk to people about vodka. We're not going to be Tito's. So what are we going to do? But she doesn't like traditional gin. So she challenged herself to make a gin that she likes. So as I said earlier, we take the tails, distill it another 2 times, infuse it with herbs and botanicals. And this one's bottled at 92 proof as well.
Right.
So the same 46%. And while the herbs are traditional, or herbs and botanicals are the traditional ones, it's not the traditional ratio because Becky doesn't like gin. So it's neither London Dry nor what you think of as an American gin. So I'll let you guys taste it first.
It smells great. I mean, I've really grown to like gin. So
me too. I like a gin that is going to hit me in the face a bit. I like that herbaliness, the pineness. I love that. And that's this. And that's what this is.
On the nose.
Yeah,
give it a taste because it's not. It really is not what you expect from.
See, the thing that I don't like is juniper, which apparently that has something to do with gin. I don't know. I'm not really sure what gin's about.
Yeah, just a little
something
bit
in there.
Yeah,
and I like the fact that it's on the nose, but it isn't like the leading hit you over the head flavor. I would rather have more like the citrus and the other herbs and spices coming through than just the juniper.
It like disappears, and like it just gets real herbally and
mint.
I mean, on the nose,
a lot of mint.
On the nose, it tells you it's gin, but in the flavor profile, it tells you
you're right.
This is pretty good gin.
Wow.
Yeah.
It changes a lot from nose to palate.
So with our favorite word, botanicals, is it all like Virginia sourced or it just depends?
That I can't disclose anything about my botanicals.
Well, I don't need to know the particulars, but I'm saying, is it like
I don't know if we're sourced. I don't know how far we're sourcing those from.
Okay. No, I was just wondering.
This is like the Colonel's recipe, right? Yep. It's got the secret herbs and spices. Exactly. We can't tell you that,
right? Well, because like we had a guy on that has what was it, the herb garden gin in Scotland?
Yeah,
and he I think sourced all of the herbs except the juniper.
No, other way around.
The juniper came from Italy. And then everything else was like locally that he grew in his garden.
He got
that's awesome.
So
is this a standard line item now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is available every day. Takes us about 25 batches of whiskey to make a batch of gin, which is super cool. And what's been really fun for me is over the last 6 months, there has been a resurgence of gin across the country. Time. It's been crazy to see the response. For the first 18 months I worked for the company, it was kind of like, it's fine, but I don't sell a lot of gin. I'll take the whiskeys, but don't bother me. Now, I'd say almost 50-50, maybe even 75% of the time, people are saying, yeah, let me get that gin too, which is awesome. I mean, I love to showcase it. Great for cocktails.
And I think the big thing is the gin cocktail has resurged.
Yeah.
That now rum's kind of price itself out of cocktails and into like a sipper. So now the gin cocktails are out there. And this would be really good in a cocktail because, again, it's not so juniper forward. Yeah. You get a lot of flavor to it. That's nice.
You said this was triple distilled?
Yes.
Wow.
And I love the mouthfeel on it. Like, it's so nice and round and full from that rye base, right? So, it's not astringent in the least, and you get flavor all the way through your palate, not just up front. Like, I just really, I love the experience of drinking it.
I love the mintiness of it.
And besides the juniper and mint, what were the other herbs that were in this? I can't remember.
Good try,
What did you say?
Yeah, good try.
Licorice.
So close.
Little anise.
So close.
All right, we're going to try
Little
the
anise.
cask strength one more time, and then we'll come back to the gin questions.
Do a couple shots. I'm going to pickleback.
Yeah, get a
pickleback.
Come on, I'm a real professional. Come on, it'd take more than one more cask proof to get that out of my lips.
What we watch when we drink, the last category that we always hit is what we want to watch. Dean, is there any, we've been giving you ideas of things that you might want to watch in the future. Anything that it's on your hit list of things you want to watch? No, we've hit a couple already probably in our conversation.
Well, yeah, one of them is Jack Ryan season 3. I'm looking forward to that coming out. I did like the first of that. Waiting on Ted Lasso season 3 to come out.
Oh yeah, that must be coming soon.
Yeah, I know they're
It's
filming.
supposed to have been coming for a while, but
soccer's very popular. I understand.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, you'd think you'd try to capitalize on that, but
Exactly.
who knows?
Football.
Okay.
Been very good
And
to
then
me.
on the movie side, I want to see Wakanda Forever. I haven't seen.
I haven't seen it either.
See that yet? I really want to see it.
It's
It's not
huge,
going to be on
huge
Disney
movie.
Plus for a million years, so I want to give. I got to find it at theater in some time, but I want to see that.
That's good.
We saw Wakanda
Mike?
Forever when we saw Black Adam. They were both really good movies. I'd recommend going out to see either one of those. Right now we're waiting on National Treasure. I was a big fan of the Nick Cage movies, and they're doing something now. I believe it's supposed to be like his daughter picking up the mantle.
What?
That's coming out on
Is he
Disney
in it?
Plus. I don't think he's in it at all.
What the heck?
I think it's out already. I think it came out
today. But I had to do this thing instead, so
Wow.
I couldn't watch that. Oh, the horror! Pour me another.
Everyone whines.
So-
Yeah.
So that's the next thing we're looking at, and like I said, I want to go back into the Jack Ryan and see some of that. And my oldest, because he's old enough now, he watched The Boys, so he went through the first couple of seasons of The Boys. Made sure he didn't show my youngest that. After the first episode, he understood why.
Come on.
He's like, ooh, yeah, can't show him that. He lost interest with season 3. But I still have to watch season 3 of that, so that'll be the next thing we watch.
3 was a little bit of a
Yeah,
slug
he
for
really.
me.
It's like I really
It was
liked
a
the first
little
2
bit
seasons.
slow.
I thought the third season was
Yeah.
just like, meh.
It's sort of getting a little redundant.
He thought it was a little
Yeah.
soap opera-y. He was like, nah, I don't care so much about their lives.
Yeah.
So I got to watch that.
Yeah.
But that's about it right now. Ange?
There's a show on Prime that came out recently called The English, and I'm just kind of curious to give it a try. It's with
What is that?
Emily Blunt.
Well,
and-
hello now.
and she's English, and it's kind of a Western apparently. And I was just
And married to
listening-
John Krasinski.
Yes, I don't think he's in it, but I don't really know a whole lot about it. I saw the beginning of it. They were kind of out west. It started, maybe like Oklahoma, or whatever it was, and it was like the Union Army, and there was a Native American that was kind of doing double duty with them, like he was kind of working for the Union Army, and he's obviously pissing both sides off, right? Like the Union guys probably don't like him, and then of course his people are all pissed off at him because he basically, kind of, double crossed him or whatever. So I don't really know a whole lot about it. I know she's in it. I know it takes place in the West, and that's all I know. And they were raving about it on the Watch podcast. So those guys generally have pretty good taste. So I may give it a shot. I think it's like a mini series. It's also a BBC Prime Video production. So, the production values will probably be really good. And Emily Blunt's, she's good.
Yeah, she's okay.
So the English, I got to go back to, I think I got to finish up Dead to Me. I only saw the first episode of season 3, and I'm not sure where it's going. So, but you said it was pretty good, so maybe I'll go back to it again. Then there is the second Knives Out movie, Glass Onion, on Netflix.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't mind checking out.
Too. Yeah.
Rami season 3, I got to get back to that. I'm sure there's more, but that's the current stuff. So
mine, although I have watched 1 or 2 episodes, when my daughter gets home tomorrow night, we'll hit this one too. Is Mythic Quest on Apple Plus. I highly recommend it. That's from your guy in Philadelphia. What's his name? Rob
McElhenney.
That guy.
Yep.
And it
Always
is
Sunny.
This is season 3, I believe. It's him being Elon Musk like caricature of a guy who runs a video game company who makes this game called Mythic Quest, and it's basically a workplace comedy, and it's hilarious.
Isn't Elon Musk already a character of Elon Musk?
I believe, yes, correct.
He's already a character, isn't he?
It is really funny. It's sort of like Silicon Valley meets The Office, sort of, and it's actually based on McElhenney's experience running.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, right? So it's based on that office that ran that show, but the subject matter is a video game. It's very funny. Highly recommend it. The first episode was great. And F. Murray Abraham was in the first 2 seasons, but is not anymore, and that's part of running him. He's in White Lotus, right?
He's really well. They start him off a little so-so, but the character gets way better as it goes. And the last couple episodes with him are great. He's really good. He was
really good in the first 2 seasons of Mythic Quest. Yeah, he's really good. So I highly recommend. That's an Apple Plus production as well. Very good. McElhenney he owns everything, doesn't he? What's that? I want to watch his Ryan Reynolds thing with him.
Oh, the Welcome to Wrexham.
Welcome to Wrexham.
Yeah, that thing.
I saw the first 2 episodes. It was very good. I gotta get back.
Did you see those 2 idiots had an audience on the field with King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla?
No.
What?
So those 2 imbeciles.
Where? When?
Because they buy this Welsh team, and Charles has an affinity for Wales, and they're big into like the keep the community alive and all this other stuff. The king came to visit the football stadium, and those 2 imbeciles were on the field with him. And you're like, wait a minute, how is Deadpool and the Always Sunny guy talking to the King of England? Something
makes no sense.
Something has gone wrong with the Matrix. I'm not really sure what happened here. There's been a glitch.
Ryan Reynolds has bought and sold a gin brand. What was it, the aviation gin?
Yeah.
And then he's got the what's it called thing?
Well, so
the mobile phone. He's not an idiot.
Mobile. So they take Charles into like the clubhouse or whatever, and they're pouring off gin because apparently Charles is a fan of gin, and there's the Royal brand of gin, and they had asked him and said, "So did you sneak some aviation in there?" And he's like, "I didn't want to overstep. I just thought maybe if the king has his symbol on a bottle, I shouldn't break my bottle out."
Ryan Reynolds, a Canadian. I think he's from Vancouver, I believe. Yeah. He is now in talks with the NHL about possibly buying or becoming a part owner of the Ottawa Senators in the NHL. So the conglomerate of Ryan Reynolds
continues to grow.
Grows.
Yeah, continues to grow.
Grows.
He's no idiot, Mike. He's no idiot.
Okay, but he's an idiot. He should be hanging out with the King of England.
He can sing and dance, though. You said Wales. There's something I forgot to mention earlier, in watching, and I need to finish watching, is I think this is season 3 of Documentary Now, which is on IFC. Dean, you know that one, which is Bill Hader and Fred Armisen, and it's an NBC thing. Who's the other guy? Seth Meyers. They're behind this, and they've taken real documentaries and basically have created stories based on real documentaries they're fake. And there is an episode this season that is based on, I don't know what it's based on. I think it's based on a Muhammad Ali documentary about 2 fighters in Wales in the 1970s in some little town, but they're not boxers. They actually are. They fight by throwing rocks at each other, and so it's like
rock paper scissors, but with rocks.
they are actually literally throwing rocks at each other. And there's one older guy who's the old man, and he's back to come for on his comeback trail, and with a young guy who's going to take his crown in this little town. And the one name in it is Jonathan Pryce. Jonathan Pryce is one of the journalists who followed him back in the 70s, and now he's back for the documentary and what happened and recounting the story. And it is so freaking funny, and it's all done in kind of like a really age-looking film, and it's very funny. So documentary now. I got to get back to season 3, I think it is. Anything else, boys? Any other last thoughts on TV, movies?
One question for Dean. What is your go-to from your rise?
So, as I said, I like the cast proof the most, but I drink the most of the 92. I gotta make sure I protect myself from myself. That's what I drink the most of. It's the one that the 92 is what I go to most frequently.
Is the Guar also 92 available? Similar, ABV as the others, or?
Yeah, so the Ragnarok is a 92 proof. The difference is that it's finished with sugar maple and cherry wood. So that comes out really, really beautiful. It's a really, really fun expression of sort of one of our finished offerings.
So where are those barrels coming from?
We actually use staves for the
interesting.
For the sugar maple and cherry wood.
Sourced from Virginia or from other places?
That I don't know. I'll have to check with Becky and let you know, Mike. I don't know.
How does that artwork come together for the Guar series? Is that from those guys or is it from you guys?
So it's a little combination of both. So the 2022 release was actually the cover art to the album they released in June that we then transposed into a bottle.
Oh,
for 2021, that was sort of a collaboration from their team and ours, sort of figuring out. And then into 2023, we're looking to them to provide us a little more artwork to see sort of what that's going to look like.
Pretty shiny packages, man. Come on.
Yeah, you love that.
Killing me, man.
So how did that relationship come together?
Yeah, so they're based out of Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
And so they came to Scott and Becky, who were the Virginia Rye Whiskey, one of the original craft distillers in the state. And they said, hey, we'd like to make a whiskey. We want to make a, Virginia whiskey. Would you guys be interested? And Scott and Becky said, absolutely. Like, how can we pass down this opportunity? And, they've been great to work with, amazing partners throughout the whole process, super engaged in the brand and the process itself. It's not just they slap the label on it. They actually help pick out the percentages of finish and all that sort of stuff. So it's been really fun.
And you brought up the Blanton's earlier, right?
Yes.
And Blanton's has that horse cork,
Toppers, yeah.
right? And there's
the topper.
9 of them, right? Well, our friends at Guar, I want to say they're my friends. They are doing the same thing with Catoctin Creek. They both releases have different. Dean, do you have that here? Dean, can you show that to us? Do you have those? Oh, there he goes. Each year is different.
Something else.
So there are 5. Yeah,
Oh,
there are
there's
5
more
collectible toppers that represent the 5 band members,
Oh
and
my
so,
God, so cool.
super fun, and really, really, it's a lot of fun.
So it's 5 different toppers for each release, and it's just random.
So the toppers for the first 2 releases were the same designs. The first year they were handmade by a metalsmith that was friends of the brand. For the second release, we had a factory do them for us. They were a little bit cheaper, a little bit faster, a little more on time, but similar to the same designs. Heading into 2023, there may be a little update on that, and then we'll sort of look at it moving forward.
Now, were those available nationwide?
Yeah, so we released it in all 28 states that we're in, along with our e-commerce store. There actually is a little bit still available. So everything that we've tasted today, you can go to buyvirginiarye.com and you can get it shipped right to your house, hopefully before the holidays. But it's going to be pushing it at this point. But yeah, there still is a little bit of that Ragnarok available on our e-store.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, Dean, we cannot thank you enough for coming on What We Watch When We Drink. This has been just a lovely experience and great to talk to you and learn more about the brand and learn more about what you guys are doing in Virginia. These are just wonderful, wonderful ryes. And the gin, an exciting gin.
Yummy all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to follow up on the gin, what goes into it again?
Yeah, just keep trying, Mike.
What was that botanical? What was that?
It was just
verbena? Any verbena?
It was so close.
We'll get him. We're going to get him back on the show.
Get some balsam, maybe a little eucalyptus.
I got no vapor action. There's no eucalyptus.
Lavender? How about lavender?
Eucalyptus.
Lavender?
Oh, I didn't think about it. Could be. I think experiment maybe, huh? Dean, thank you again.
Thank you, Dean.
Good luck to you guys. Dean, Vice President of Sales and Marketing, President of Sales and Marketing, I downgraded him, of Catoctin Creek, and Becky and Scott are just doing great stuff. You guys are all just a great team. We are just big fans. So thank you again.
Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
All right, shall I
Play us
roll the
off.
end credits?
Roll the end credits. Don't go anywhere, Dean.
All right, boys. Cheers.
Cheers.
If you enjoy this show, please subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Audible, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can also find us on boozdancing.com. And if you have any questions, comments, show or drink suggestions, email us at boozdancing@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.